Okay, welcome to Nerd Level 15. So last night I was up super late working on this project. There's a big HR piece, and what I'm really trying to do is like trying to make it really, really easy for bars and restaurants to find people, hire people, and onboard them. And so I've been just going through every little tiny microscopic little step of the process and making sure that everything gets done correctly, easily, and just guides people step by step, like holds their hand through the process. So a lot of this involves a lot of conditional logic. So if this happens, then that happens. So for instance, if a candidate is accepted by the management and they want to move them forward, then what happens is they get assigned to an HR person in the team. And that could be also the GM or the owner. I mean, I don't know what size of the business it is, but then they're going to be sent an offer letter, right? And so once they get sent an offer letter, then we want the candidate to sign that, so that they acknowledge a couple different things, and this enhances the safety of the owner so that they're not going to get sued for miscommunication or whatever. And so when that happens, then they get moved into this onboarding pipeline that walks them through like the specific documents that they need to do. Now, so when I talk about conditional logic, the conditional logic is a fancy way of saying if then. So if this happens, then that happens. And if this doesn't happen, then this happens. And so we kind of split and fork the conversation in various different ways based on what has actually happened. So for instance, if you haven't signed your W-9 in the States, that's your tax reporting document that says that this is how you tell your employer what your tax information is and what your preferences are. And then, so if you haven't filled that out, then you do not get the next step, which is your payroll information, for instance, like where you submit information to HR about how you want to be paid, like your bank account number, your social security number, stuff like that. So I'm working through each one of those little steps, and and to me it's just fascinating, because once I work through each one of these little steps, then we have an ironclad system, so that employee knows exactly what to expect. They know that all their documents have been submitted. There's going to be no hassle with payroll, and then so. I'm talking about like nudging constantly the employee or the candidate, and then also nudging the HR people and the staff to make sure that this stuff gets processed on time. And so it just kind of helps people make sure that they're doing this the right way so that they don't get exposed. And this also increases the feeling of safety for the employee. So it's super exciting for me. There's other software I'm sure that does it, but nothing that does it quite like this. This is a very hospitality-centric system, and so it's designed for people like me that are looking for this kind of system to make their lives considerably easier. So not only that, but also once we know what a candidate's birthday is, then we can make sure we do something special for them. And also we can record their start date, and then so that way this tells the management from time to time, like quarterly, annually, whatever it is, when specific milestones and anniversaries are happening. Also, once onboarding is finished, like the technical onboarding of like the legal documents and stuff like that, then we can get into the fun stuff, which is where the training begins. And so I've started building out a learning management system that employees can do on their own time if they want, or I'm not sure how it works legally. I got to figure that out with my buddy and ask what we can expect people to do. So probably it's going to be something along the lines of, but all this is on your cell phone, by the way. So this is all app driven, or it's all browser driven through what's called a progressive web app, and so, or a PWA. And so all this stuff is like, it's just so civilized. And I'm just so excited to make this available to independent bars and restaurants who just otherwise wouldn't have this kind of stuff. So there's tons of roadblocks. There's tons of things that I'm figuring out how to do. Privacy is an issue. I want to make sure that people's information is safe and secure. And then they're not just like sending out their social security number to everybody on the management team, because they don't all need that. And so I'm about like siloing information and making sure that everybody's covered. But additionally, in addition to like the soft stuff, like as in like remembering birthdays and stuff like that, I'm also building out a reporting system in the form of a online community, which will be, there would be internal community for management, an internal community for staff and management, internal community for staff only, that they can see each other and talk to each other. There's also a mechanism to book time with the CEO in case you have a problem, you want feedback. There's anonymous systems so that they don't have to report who they are, so they don't have to talk about who they are. And report problems, and so like all this is going to lead to accountability, transparency, systemization, processing, and so this takes an enormous piece out of the work that would typically be done by bar and restaurant owners, because they're running around like their hair is on fire all the time. Pro tip, just shave your head. But they're running around like maniacs all the time, and this stuff typically doesn't get done. But I didn't realize that the value, the cost of the exposure to these kind of things is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so typically you have to carry a lot of insurance to make sure that you don't for if and when you get busted for these kind of things, like as in, somebody doesn't fill out a document, or they don't fill out an acknowledgement, and then they can say like, hey, listen, like you didn't tell me this, I didn't know this. And even though you know that you told them, that doesn't mean that you're not liable for a suit. So it is customer centric, it is employee centric, and it is owner centric, and everybody is getting on the same page, and everybody's getting the same communication. And also we're handing off the contact from, whether it's like the hiring manager who's going to do the preliminary work, and then that's going to kick off to the GM who's going to ultimately be making the decision on that particular staff member. And then after that, it becomes an HR conversation. And then so the HR person, whoever is responsible for that, is going to be managing that conversation, while for the technical part of the process, and then it gets kicked back to a manager who will be managing their education, their training, and their onboarding, and their scheduling and stuff like that for the remainder of their experience at that bar or restaurant. And so another cool thing is that as managers come and go, you can just simply onboard a new manager and then assign them to everybody that manager had, that the previous manager had. So it's a seamless conversation. It's a seamless conversation. And that manager, whoever's coming on, can see every piece of communication that's come from the company to that employee, and vice versa. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The employee doesn't have access to these conversations, but they have their inbox and their text messages. So we're sending legally binding contracts. We're sending text messages, emails, and voicemails, and all these things are going into a single unified system that is going to help us really get rid of the things that don't matter, or the things that shouldn't burden an operator's time when they could be focusing on the guest and focusing on marketing and all this other stuff. And so like, I'm just so excited about this. I've been doing this for a long time. I've hit many roadblocks. I've tried many different things. I was like, during COVID, I was like actually doing like HVAC marketing and smoking cessation marketing. I was doing all kinds of stuff, just throwing shit against the wall just to see what would stick. But this is the thing I'm the absolute most excited about, just because it uses all of my skills. And it uses all of my experience, and it implements it in a way that is extremely valuable, and it is highly leverageable, and it's infinitely scalable. So I could have 10,000 clients at one day. Right now, I'll work on the first 10. The first 5 are going to get a kind of a bang and discount while we figure out the kinks in the system. But, of course, I'm going to have a lawyer look at the mechanism just to make sure that I'm protected. But I will not be responsible for the legal compliance, because I can't control what people do. That's out of my control. I can control the system and the software. And if people tell me that they need it to be updated to accommodate a certain rule change or whatever, then I'm happy to do that either for their account or for all my accounts at the same time. I can literally just copy and paste and update my entire account list, but it's a good business. It's very high value, very low cost, very sticky, and it is a operating system that protects you from an enormous amount of liability. So that's all I got for you today. I'll see you next time. If you want to check out my other videos on YouTube by walking into specific systems like conversation AI, workflows, and all this other stuff, and then I have weeks. And if you head to Who's My Rep, and you'll see some of the trainings that we do every week, and then there's a weekly client onboarding and training session, and then I also do Bar Teams Live. So I hope to see one of those things, to see you live, and I will see you soon.